SEGA presents one champion of good, one pawn of evil. It's Sonic and Knuckles. Not only is it the greatest Sonic game ever.
Whoa, hold up, guys. Hold up. This is 2021, not 1994. So we're not about to re-experience the release of the only lock-on cartridge to have ever existed in the history of a Sega Genesis, as much as I wish that it were so. But I thought you all might appreciate the reference because if a thumbnail has not given it away by now, the content that we're going to be going over in this video warranted the callback. And you'll see what I mean as you watch this video. So, I'm going to sit back and let y'all enjoy yourselves.
Here we go!
Hey, what's up, Blue Blurs? This is Gamer Blake 90, your proud chief of the Blue Blurs, bringing you another Sonic news video. I suggest you buckle up, this is gonna be a good one. Like many of you, I've been madly curious as to what else would lie in store for Sonic and company now that two members of a 2010 voice cast have announced their departures from their respective roles. Namely, Roger Craig Smith for Sonic and Cindy Robinson for Amy. On the other hand, Mike Pollock has announced that he will be sticking around to keep voicing the nefarious Dr. Eggman in upcoming Sonic titles, and that was a welcome piece of news to hear. Thank goodness for that man. Then you have Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who is as of now the current voice of Tails. She went on record to state that she will not be voicing the Fox Boy in the upcoming Netflix series called Sonic Prime, which is slated for release next year, but she has made no further elaboration on her current standing with the gaming aspect of the Sonic series, so her fate is still largely unknown, as is the rest of the 2010s cast. Although the way things are going, you can likely expect more vacancies to open up soon. That said, ever since Roger Craig Smith announced his departure from the role of Sonic, fans have been eyeing Ben Schwartz as the one to be next in line to assume the mantle, pointing to his performance as Sonic in his debut film last year as evidence that he would be more than suited to take up the role. And that's an opinion I share honestly. Before I first went to see the movie, I had quite a lot of fears about how it would go. But then I listened to Ben Schwartz voicing Sonic, and I saw how the character was written by Paramount, and all of my fears were shattered beyond repair, as were my expectations. Or in the case of expectations, it was for the better. I was very pleased by the result, and for that reason, I would not protest at all if Ben Schwartz were to be selected to be the next voice of Sonic as far as the games are concerned. However, as much as I would like that to happen, I don't think the process of selecting Sonic's next voice actor for the games is going to be that straightforward, and here's why. Let me first take you back to the earlier half of the 2000s era, which would see the launch of the anime series called Sonic X, which will last for 3 seasons up until 2005. During that series, Jason Griffith and the rest of the 4Kids cast would make their debut, but they would not be called upon to voice their gaming counterparts up until 2005, when Sonic Rush came out for the Nintendo DS. Although that game only featured Sonic, Tails, Dr. Eggman, and one other character who would never show her face in Sonic X, Blaze the Cat, though we would eventually see her again in Sonic 2006. I can only imagine that if Sonic X were to receive a 4th season, we would see a lot of references to Blaze, considering that the first 3 seasons referenced the events of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and as an adventure enthusiast, that was something I was overly delighted to see. But the point is, Jason and company were not brought over to voice their gaming counterparts right away. Before that, Brian Drummond and the rest of the Dreamcast team were still voicing Sonic and company in the games up until 2004, when Sonic Advance 3 and Sonic Battle were released, and then 2005, the mantle will be handed over to Jason and company. Fast forward to 15 years later, now that we have our first live-action film of Sonic from Paramount, and the gaming franchise set to enter its next chapter with the 30th anniversary coming up later this year, I would imagine there are a lot more barriers to overcome if Sega wanted to equalize the voice cast between the movie and the games. And even then, that's a route I find it unlikely that they will go down. After all, we have dramatically different depictions of Sonic between the movie and the games, whereas back with Sonic X and the games, they were a lot more equalized. For that reason, they are probably thinking that maybe they want different voice actors to handle the role of Sonic for the games and the movie, as they do focus on different portions of Sonic's personality. In the case of the movie, it highlights a more vulnerable side of Sonic that we never really explore in the games, as well as his origin for that matter, although that was barely touched upon at the very beginning of the 2020 Sonic movie. Point is, there are undoubtedly a lot more barriers to overcome now as opposed to back during the middle of the 2000s era. Which is another reason I find it unlikely, unfortunately, that Ben Schwartz would take up the mantle, but I would be very happy for him if he did. In any case, Ben Schwartz himself commented on the situation, saying that he has not been contacted by anybody, SEGA included, to voice Sonic in the games. In an interview with comicbook.com, Ben Schwartz states that at the moment his focus on the release of his Disney Plus movie called Flora and Ulysses, which is set to release later this month. Even then, the interview was largely dominated by the subject of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is understandable because next month, filming for the Sonic movie sequel is set to begin in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. However, considering that Schwartz voiced an animated character as opposed to the majority of the cast, his voiceover process will be dramatically different from theirs, so chances are he won't be called upon to voice Sonic right away. But on the off chance that he is, this will likely lead to a packed schedule for him in the coming weeks. This goes back to a statement Mike Pollock released on Twitter shortly after confirming that he would be sticking around to voice Eggman, which reads as follows. On a personal note, I know you want to speculate about what happened and possible casting choices, but please bear in mind that IRL, actors' careers are steered by auditions, callbacks, bookings, and rejections. It's a bit more complicated than choosing sides for kickball. Moral of the story, we don't know for certain unless all parties involved actually make a blatant statement, and in Ben Schwartz's case, he has gone on to state that he has not been contacted to voice Sonic for the games. For that matter, he hasn't even thought about it. To directly quote Schwartz from his interview with comicbook.com, as for whether or not he would like to step into some of the Sonic roles which have been occupied by Smith, Schwartz admits, I haven't thought about it. So not only has he thought about it, but he hasn't been contacted about it, so for those who were expecting Ben Schwartz to fill in for Roger Craig Smith, sadly, I wouldn't get your hopes up. That said, it is still too soon to assume what would happen, but let's consider something else. I would think it'd be a very unwise business move on SEGA's part to separate Roger Craig Smith from the role of Sonic without having a backup candidate locked in. For that matter, they may have somebody locked in already, and they simply haven't announced it yet. And as far as who they've locked in, this is a huge case of who knows. At that point, it boils down to one or two possibilities. They'll backtrack to a previous voice actor, such as Jason Griffith or Ryan Drummond, whom I would be very thrilled to see return to the role, or they're going to be bringing a new face to the scene that nobody will have any clue about, or probably nobody will have any clue about, because I'll be honest, I haven't heard of the voice actors who would be voicing Sonic up until that actually happened, so that was my first time learning about any of them. And knowing SEGA, they have a tendency to change up a lot of things, so the more likely scenario for me is that we're going to get an entirely new actor to voice Sonic as far as the games are concerned. So for the movies, I don't think we have to worry about losing Ben Schwartz, because as well he did in the original Sonic movie, and given how well the movie itself did, I can't imagine them wanting to make any last minute adjustments when there's no need to, and by them I mean Paramount. So ultimately, from the way the cards are falling, Ben Schwartz is not likely to be next in line to voice Sonic for the games, as cool as that would have been. Okay, for the second half of this video, a little backstory is in order. At a crucial point in the Sonic movie, Sonic and Tom are pursued along a highway taking them toward their destination of San Francisco by Dr. Robotnik's machinery, or Dr. Eggman if you prefer to call him as such. Both of the heroes win out in the encounter, but Sonic is knocked unconscious by a near-lethal explosion shortly thereafter. He is then taken to Tom's girlfriend's house, where he eventually regains consciousness. And as he wakes up, one of the first lines out of his mouth is The Rock president?" That was hilarious to watch, and I would show you footage of the incident happening, but given the recent uprise in DMCA takedown notices, or Digital Millennium Copyright Act in case you don't know what that means, I dare not take that risk. SEGA is not all that stingy about that kind of stuff, which is why I don't really have any problems featuring the games for Sonic and all, but Paramount is involved in film production and they might have an entirely different stance, as far as DMCA is concerned, but I don't know that for sure, so I cannot take that risk. Unless you've seen the film yourself, you will just have to take my word for it. Anyway, the Rock being president thing became a running joke at the time, and fans saw fit to take it a step further shortly after the film attained its level of success. They would go on to request that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson be brought on board as the voice of Knuckles in the event that there was a follow-up film to the Sonic movie, which of course there would be. But at the time the sequel was announced, it was not yet known if Knuckles would indeed be featured in the film, and of course that would change months later when that was all but made a certainty. So now that it is known that Knuckles will indeed appear in the sequel, the subject of who would voice him was opened again just today. Reportedly, The Rock was indeed approached with a role but passed on it, though I find it more likely that he was never approached about it in the first place. And now, we have another possibility laid bare to us as to who could voice Knuckles in the sequel, namely, Jason Momoa. If you don't recognize him, he stars the title character of Aquaman in the DC Extended Universe film that came out back in 2018, and he also made appearances in two other DC films called Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, and his follow-up film, Justice League. Now I have to say, when Jason Momoa was first name dropped, I hadn't recognized him off the bat, but then I took a good second to look at his picture and was like, wait a minute, he seems an awful lot like the guy that played Aquaman in his film. As it would turn out, that's exactly who he was, which was funny. I have to admit, I'm not that much of a movie guy. You could probably gather that much from what I just said. Though I was willing to make an exception for the Sonic movie, of course, but there are some other films I have taken notice of, and luckily, Aquaman was indeed one of them. I had seen the film, and I was also enamored by Jason Momoa's presentation of the character Aquaman. He portrayed the process of transitioning from someone being skeptical about their history to fully embracing their role as the king of an underwater region named Atlantis. I was personally taken aback by how awesome the film was, in spite of at first being skeptical of it before I even went to see it. So we almost entered a timeline where I didn't even know squat about the Aquaman movie. Oh my, that wouldn't have been very easy to digest. As for Jason Momoa himself, he entered the entertainment industry back in 1999, and in decades to come his career would really take off. He's been featured in the HBO fantasy drama series called Game of Thrones from 2011-2012, the science fiction series Stargate Atlantis in 2005-2009, the Discovery Channel historical drama series called Frontier from 2016-2018, and most recently, the Apple TV Plus science fiction series called Sea from 2019 to the present day. He is also set to star as Duncan Idaho in a film adaptation of the 1965 science fiction novel called Dune, and that is slated for a theatrical release later this October. As far as Jason voicing Knuckles, talented as he is, I have to admit, I'm not used to the idea that Knuckles' voice can be that deep, and I had a similar outlook when Dwayne Johnson was name-dropped as a voice actor for Knuckles. Talented as they both are, I'm really not sure if the difference in voice levels would prove a barrier towards their acquisition of the role if such a thing was indeed in the works. And furthermore, there's currently not a clear presentation of what exactly Knuckles is as a character because, like many other characters, he's been rebooted by SEGA over the years. He started out as the lone echidna guardian of the Master Emerald aboard Angel Island, and then as the series progressed, he completely deserted that role, and now he's more recognized as the leader of a resistance force in Sonic Forces and the IDW comics. Although while I haven't been fully caught up on IDW comics, I seem to remember that Knuckles does eventually return to Angel Island to resume his old mantle as the guardian of the Master Emerald. If that is true, that is nice to see. One of my biggest issues about the current characterization of Knuckles was that SEGA had completely abandoned his history with the Master Emerald, and it was disheartening to see. So if he has indeed returned to that role in the IDW comics, I'm quite happy about that. That said, it's not clear if he will make a similar return to that role in the Sonic movie sequel, but when you consider that the film is also going to be shot over at the Hawaiian Islands, it makes you wonder if that is supposed to be the setting for Angel Island, which is Knuckles' home domain. Furthermore, Knuckles himself is a complex character. He starts out as someone who is incredibly gullible, so gullible that he trusted Dr. Eggman's word at face value, starting with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, in case any of you actually didn't play that game. And then that storyline was acknowledged again over Sonic Adventure when he had to collect the broken shards of the Master Emerald. Once again, he was skeptical of his ability to trust Sonic and company, and that would change over time as Dr. Eggman revealed the truth of his evil antics to the Red Echidna, having manipulated him to his own ends. Other than that, Knuckles is known to be quite a brawler with whom you don't want to pick a fight. So what we basically have is a character who's just not sure of how to perceive others, and that's quite understandable seeing as he spent years in solitude after the extinction of his tribe quite a number of years ago. And when you have to spend all the time in solitude protecting a lone gem from the world, it can most likely impact your outlook upon others. Though it could likely lead to your attitude towards others being easily manipulated as Dr. Eggman was able to do. That being the case, it leads to many branches of complexity in portraying the character for either Jason Momoa or Dwayne Johnson, so we can probably rule out Dwayne Johnson at this point. As for Mr. Momoa himself, no confirmation from him about taking up the role is forthcoming as of now. Similar to the situation with Ben Schwartz and Sonic, Jason Momoa being reportedly offered the Knuckles role was commented on by comicbook.com. You can check out all their articles regarding both Ben Schwartz and Jason Momoa in the description below this video if you'd like to do some research, and I'll also drop them in the video itself so you can take a look and judge for yourself. So again, as of how well Jason Momoa would do in voicing Knuckles, I'm 50-50 on that. I'm a fan of his performance in the Aquaman film, but that's very little to go on, though to be fair, I had little to nothing to go on when judging Ben Schwartz's performance with Sonic in the initial movie, and I ended up liking him quite a lot. So for all I know, I could establish a similar opinion if Jason Momoa were to voice Knuckles as well. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see for ourselves, won't we? Once again, nothing about the status of the voice cast for both the Sonic movie and the Sonic games has been 100% confirmed, but whenever that changes, you know that I'll be among those working to let you guys know. And that does it for another Sonic News video, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, let me know your thoughts with your likes and comments down below. If you want to keep up with my content, hit that sub button and ring that bell, as I will be making it a point to stay fully informed on the state of the Sonic franchise. Until then, this is GamerBlake90 signing out. I will see y'all next time. And don't forget, blue blurs for life. Take care. Peace out.